Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I want to talk about the testimony today of E. Jean Carroll against Donald Trump, her claims that he raped her in a department store some 30 years ago. Let me state right up front, this is not a political channel. I don't want political commentary. I may have to block all the comments and just turn the comments off if it goes that direction. I'm not talking about politics here. I'm talking about what is considered a crime, if it occurred, and whether there are facts to support the crime, whether it could happen the way she said it happened. Now, she claims it's not a he said, she said thing. Well, yes, it is, actually, because she never reported this to the police. There's no proof that it happened. It is her statement against his statement. That's a fact. Now, you might be wondering why I'm wearing these. I'm going to explain this in a minute. Because I'm trying to duplicate a little bit of the outfit she said. This is what I was wearing 23 years ago when Donald Trump attacked me. This was when the story came out in the New York. So she was wearing, it seems to be a kind of it looks like a coat, but maybe a skirt under there or some kind of short dress and a pair of what she calls tights. All right. So I'm going to do a little crime scene reenactment to show you whether I think what she said happened could have happened the way she said it happened. Let me read you first from Politico, because I was looking for testimony, and I've seen varying versions of this testimony. So I don't think the story stays exactly the same all the time, but I'm going to read this version. In her testimony Wednesday, Carroll provided a detailed account of what she says happened that day. She and Trump browsed the store and eventually made their way up the escalator to the lingerie department on the 6th floor. The tone of the conversation was very joshing and lighthearted, Carroll testified, and the two teased each other about which one should try on a lace bodysuit. I was flirting the whole time, probably, she said. All right, so let's start with this. They're together amiably at that point in time. This wasn't like a stranger assault on the street or somebody crawling through a window. We're having two people flirting. She admits to flirting, so they're giggling and flirting as men and women did, especially back in the day before there was so much he said, she said. Okay, so this is going on. Now, mind you, if there is an actual crime that occurs, if there is a sexual assault that occurs without any consent, it's still a crime regardless of if you know each other or if you're flirting or anything you do up till that point. It's still a crime. So let me point that out. So here they are, she says, flirting and joking around. Trump took her by the arm and led her to a dressing room. Asked if she ever thought about saying no, she replied that it didn't occur to me. Okay, here we have an interesting point. In my opinion, men don't go into the ladies' dressing rooms or into the ladies' bathrooms with a lady unless there's going to be something unladylike happening in there. And pretty much every lady knows this. If a man goes with you to a private place for women like that, it's usually a sexual overture. And usually you're going to be doing something in that place, because otherwise a man should not be entering those locations and you should not be allowing him to enter those locations. So at this point, we still have flirting and we're going to do something a little naughty. And it seems to be consensual up to this point. Now, let me go further. The door was open, and that open door has plagued me for years because I just walked into it. Just walked in, she said, as though in disbelief. Carroll said it took her a minute to register that their cheerful encounter had taken a turn. Okay, you brought him into a lady's dressing room, essentially. So I don't know what turn you think it's taking. Then this is where she says it gets to be less consensual. Her claim. He immediately shut the door and shoved me up against a wall. All right. Now, since there is sort of an agreement as the two go into this room, and again, as I point out, it's usually for sexual purposes, not necessarily sex, but something, at least romantic-ish or sexual sort of, and that he would shut the door and push her against a wall and kiss her is not considered necessarily an assault. That is something you see in every movie, mind you. How many movies have you seen where two people, a male and a female or whatever, go into some place, close the door behind them, and one of them pushes the other against the wall and starts kissing, and then starts disrobing them, and then oftentimes chucks them up on the sink or on some other piece of furniture, and they start having sex. And this is all considered consensual. Now, if it isn't consensual, you don't go into the place you shouldn't go into with somebody in a place that's not appropriate, shall we say, unless you're planning something. And then at this point, are you saying no? Are you saying no to closing the door? Are you saying no to being pushed against a wall? Are you saying no to being kissed? So we have to look at this. She testified that she didn't call for help or yell. Okay. This is going to sound odd. I didn't want to make a scene. Well, you had a guy in the ladies' dressing room, so I guess that is an issue. Usually the reason people don't want to make a scene is because they're making a scene themselves, you know. She's saying, I did not stop him. I didn't yell for help. I didn't tell him no. I didn't want to make him angry at me. Okay, why? Why can't you make a guy angry at you if you don't want to do what he does? You should say no, and if he's angry, too bad. Why wouldn't you want him to be angry at you? That's your decision. It doesn't have anything to do with consent. This started out as something fun and light, and something to tell people you were having dinner with. Oh, I see. You want to go? Guess what I did last night? I was at the department store, and I went into the ladies' dressing room with Donald Trump, and we made out. Is that what you wanted to say? I don't know. This isn't appropriate dinner talk anyway, and it's kind of sick that you would want to, kiss and tell. But all right. And suddenly it turned absolutely dark. All right, how did it turn dark? At the time, Carroll said she was 5'9" and 120 pounds and was wearing 4-inch heels. So she's basically saying with the 4-inch heels, she was about 6'1", and making her approximately Trump's height, but about 100 pounds lighter. Okay, the poundage difference is not unusual for a male and female anyway. Is she getting closer to Donald Trump's height because she's wearing the heels? Yes. But he's still taller. And this is important because what I'm going to talk about in a bit is where body parts can work. So if a woman is way, way shorter than a guy and he tries to have sex with her standing up, this part is kind of hard to go into this part. You see what I'm saying? Unless you move this part to someplace else. Okay, this part can then, so at any rate, isn't it lovely? I mean, it's just really bad storytelling with hands, but it's all I've got, and I don't want to go any further than that. So then she says, his whole weight came against my chest and held me up there. He leaned down and pulled down my tights. I was pushing him back, she said, holding up her hands to demonstrate. So she's pushing him back, she's claiming, while he's pulling down her tights, which means he has to get his hands up under her clothes and then grab hold of the tights and pull them down. Now, one thing I can't seem to find is how far did he pull them down? Because that's important. The tights have to be pulled down far enough so there's any access to the private area at all. And I also don't know, I can't find what she was wearing. Maybe I haven't looked far enough yet, if she was wearing underwear or not. I don't see quite a lot of information on that. Some women don't wear underwear under tights because they have these little areas in them that it's like a little cotton areas. So some women don't wear any underwear under them. So let's assume she isn't. Just go with that. So he's got to pull the tights down. Now he's got to pull the tights down far enough, as I said, for access. And she says she's stamping and trying to wriggle out from under him. So she's doing a lot of movement and all that. But he had pulled down my tights and his fingers went into my vagina and it was extremely painful. Now, do I believe he could have put his fingers inside her? Yes. Because you pull the tights down, there is room. This is what I'm trying to show you here. So essentially, tights are tight. So they don't go, it's not like the old days when women used to wear a stocking on each leg and they were hooked up by the garters, right? And therefore, your legs weren't pulled together. Well, with tights, even when you pull them down part way, your legs are still together. Can you get your hand between like this? Yeah, I would think that's possible. And extremely painful because he put his hand inside me and curved his fingers. I'm sitting here today. I can still feel it. It's been 30 years. Okay. Her voice cracking. Then what happened, asked her lawyer. Then he inserted his penis. Now, I've heard that he inserted it all the way. I've heard he inserted part way. She's given kind of both those stories. And sometimes she said she didn't really know how far. All right. Here's where my problem starts. First of all, he has to unbutton his own clothes, unzip his own clothes to make his penis available. Secondly, as I pointed out, you have legs stuck together, okay? They're standing up. She is shorter than him. Somehow, with her legs still together, he's got to get in between those legs and be able to achieve inserting a penis. Now, most of the time when you see this in the movies, you'll see a woman up on a sink, something like in the bathroom. He throws her up on top of something and he pushes her legs apart. That gives him access. He takes either she's not wearing anything to keep her legs together. But let's say somebody's wearing a pair of jeans, for example. In rape cases that I've looked at, sometimes you'll see that a person, what they end up with jeans or leggings. There was a really recent case where a person was convicted. And one of the reasons I believe that the person attacked her in a vehicle was because she had some leggings on. One of the leggings was off of her leg. The other legging was still hanging on her leg. And what happens is if you go to, let's say, a bedroom situation and you're going to, or someplace where you have access, a lot of room, a guy will take those leggings and pull them all the way off in one pull, or pull off jeans in one pull, and there will be no clothing left. But sometimes when people are in a small situation, they'll take off one legging, one side of the jeans, and the other part will be stuck on their leg. But that means legs are able to be moved into an open fashion. Having tights holding your legs together makes it extremely difficult for a person standing up to insert a penis into a vagina, standing up between those tight legs. I would like to see how this is even possibly done. I would like to see an example of this in the trial, that this can be accomplished, especially when she's struggling and fighting and pushing him away and squirming around. I find this highly, highly unlikely. Fingers, yes. Maybe he took something out of his trousers, yes. That he inserted it into his penis, I don't believe it. I think that was physically very, very improbable that this could be accomplished with tights on. And all he's done is pull the tights down. The legs are still like this. I have my arms here and I'm pulling my arms apart. But generally speaking, when you have tights on, when you're pulling the tights down, you're making them tighter because they're stuck on you like this. So, don't believe it for a minute. So, do I think as much happened as she claimed happened? No, I don't. I don't think. Do I think that they maybe went into the dressing room and had a kiss and a fondle, and maybe she didn't like the fondle? Sure, but you come back 2 dozen years later and claim you were sexually assaulted and actual physical rape. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with that. Now, she does say here too, she supposedly told a couple friends about this, but never went public. And then she says this very interesting thing to me. Sitting here today, how did you feel about going to that dressing room? It was very stupid, Carroll said. It changed. She paused. I know people have been through a lot worse than this. Like any rape victim has probably been through worse than this. But it left me unable to ever have a romantic life again. Is that hyperbole or what? Seriously. This 2-minute incident that you helped provoke, shall we say, by bringing him into a ladies' dressing room, which obviously was an attempt to have some kind of some kind of something happening in there, whether it just be kissing or fondling or whatever, who knows? And that's destroyed your entire life. You're never able to have never able to have a romantic relationship. This is just such garbage. If the jury finds Donald Trump guilty and gives her a whole boatload of money, I'll be pretty sickened. I really will, because I don't care if you like Donald Trump or you don't. What I'm concerned about are the victims of rape, the victims of true sexual assault. I'm not saying you might not have stuck a finger in you, lady. I'm not saying you didn't do that. But you also didn't say no. You also brought him back there. You also did all these other things. And all of a sudden, oh, I've been horrifyingly sexually assaulted and it's destroyed my life. I don't believe it. I think you're a money hound. That's what I think. And I think there's no proof. Absolutely. And no, this is not a criminal trial. It's a civil trial. So it's a preponderance of evidence and not, not as, you don't have to be as absolutely certain. But there's just nothing here. It's 100% he said, she said, and it's nonsense. And I would like to see somebody do that reenactment in the courtroom, just so we could see how easy it was to do that kind of thing and to truly have a rape occur, which she can't prove. And I just, with the jury system these days and these kind of cases, and I don't know how you get a jury that is not biased, because this is going to be very, very political for the jury. People who don't like Donald Trump will say, yeah, he did that. And people who like him say, no, he didn't do that. So I don't even know how you get, at this point in time, an impartial jury. I don't care whether they come into there and say, oh, I'm impartial. I don't believe it for a minute. So she's playing the game, and she's got a huge amount of attention by making this claim. And she may get a huge amount of money too, which is, to me, I'd say my issue is for victims, true victims of sexual assault, who truly have not been able to go on in life so easily because of something horrifying that happened to them. This doesn't qualify. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this. I was asked to speak on it. I was hesitant to do so, but all right, there it is. So, by the way, if you haven't been to my channel before, please do subscribe. Please do like the video. And again, comments below, zero politics. Okay? Or I'm going to just turn the comments off because it's not worth it. Thank you for being here.